Now available on Tata Sky channel number 526.
JD Bhattacharjee is called in from Mumbai. How can we help you, Mr. Bhattacharjee?
I've got an inherited flat which has come up for redevelopment. The developer is paying some compensation towards hardship and rent and all that. Now I want to know whether that amount paid is taxable.
Now this is a question that most of Mumbai wants to hear the answer to.
You're
Jayesh.
right, Kavita.
A lot of buildings are going in for redevelopment.
Right.
Do they need to pay tax on the rent or on the hardship allowance that the developer gives them?
Okay, so Times of India also will have the question when this property will go for redevelopment. So your question is that you have got an ancestral property as a gift. In that property, I believe is a part of the cooperative society, or is it an independent bungalow? So if it is an independent bungalow and you are the owner, or if you are a kind of a society, then there are a little bit complication, but assuming that let's stay with a bungalow or an apartment and then stick to your situation.
We can ask him. In fact, Mr. Bhattacharjee is on the phone line.
Okay.
Mr. Bhattacharjee, tell us very quickly, is this an independent bungalow or is this a housing society?
It is a housing society.
Okay, so it's a housing society, so you are the owner of the apartment, you are not the owner of the land, because the land does not belong to you under the MOFA in the Maharashtra Flat Ownership Act. Now, what the law says that when you give your right or when you give up your right in your own apartment and it goes for a redevelopment, and in return that you get a property or a flat of the equivalent size or a bigger size, then that amounts to technically that amounts to a transfer, because you are giving a right in your property in exchange for another property that you are getting. Now, therefore, there are a lot of judgments which has taken a view, courts have taken a view that it is a transfer, and therefore there is a capital gains tax liability that gets triggered. So the market value of the new property that you get it minus the cost of your existing property that you bought will be regarded as a capital gain, and that capital gain get taxable. But you don't have to worry about paying taxation at this point in time, right? Because what is happening that you are giving up this right and immediately you are purchasing a residential property. So therefore, one property is being sold, another property is getting purchased. So you can take a rescue under section 554, code 554 of the Income Tax Act, and say that my entire capital gain is reinvested into another property, and therefore there is no capital gains tax. Now, coming back to your point on a compensation, I believe compensation is in the form of what you call it as a reallocation or shifting allowance or a rental that the developer is paying for you to, I would say, have an alternate accommodation, right? So that one can take a position that the amount which is being paid by the developer for relocation or for a rental payment for your alternate accommodation is nothing but a reimbursement, and therefore that should not be taxable and that should not be treated as your income, and you should not pay tax. So you can rely on some of the court decisions which have taken a view that that is not an income, that's just a kind of a hardship allowance or a reimbursement.
So how do they essentially prove this, Jayesh? Because I'm sure this is something that will come up the year later, in the next year, when you actually go and file your tax returns and you have to answer as to where that income is actually coming from.
Right.
So do you need to show the agreement, or do you need to make a separate agreement for, which lays out very clearly what the developer is going to pay you as rental or as hardship allowance? Is that necessary?
Very interesting question, Kavita. In a redevelopment, what happens that generally there is a tripartite agreement which happens between the developer, the cooperative society, which is the owner of the land, and the individual flat owners. And in that agreement, everything is being recorded in terms of what is being exchanged for, what is being given, and what the society is going to get it, because society also gets a lot of extra money as a deposit, right, or as a kind of corpus fund and so on and so forth. And also what each property owner or flat owner is going to get it. And even the rental and all other reimbursement, additional compensation.
So does he have to show the agreement?
Of course, that agreement needs to be shown.
The agreement
and plus it all depends on, developer might have his own apartment and he might provide alternate accommodation, or developer might have a direct rental arrangement and he might pay direct rental to the property owner.
You need to get your paperwork in place.
So paperwork is very important
to ensure that you have the right answers to give to the tax authorities.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.